Divorce lawyers of Reddit, what's the most outrageous reason someone filed for divorce? To avoid prison. Guy came in saying he was going to be indicted for many things. The list would have been impressive if it wasn't also sickening. So, he wanted to marry his accomplice because he saw on TV that your spouse can't testify against you without your permission, and the accomplice had cut a deal. He just needed to get this pesky marriage to his current wife dissolved. They can't arrest a husband and wife for the same crime. Yeah, I don't think that that's true, Dad. I have the worst and $ attorneys. A man filed for divorce because he couldn't stand listening to his wife make the AAH sound after every drink. Apparently it got to him over the years. Guy came in and wanted to divorce his wife because he found out that she was still married to some other guy. He then asked me if he needed to tell his other wife that he was married to this wife. This was a free legal clinic and everyone was homeless. A lot of stories make more sense when they end with "and everyone was homeless." Oh boy, I've been working at a family law firm for 3 years and I have seen/heard some crazy stuff. For example, 1. We handled the divorce for an older man, 70s. BC. He was cheating and wanted to be with his mistress. 2 years go by. He comes back to divorce the mistress. BC. He's been cheating on her with his first wife. 2. Wife found photos of her husband dressed up as a ballerina. 3. Husband files for divorce. BC. Wife does cocaine. He brings us photos of her with coke on her bare boobs. Then admits he took the photos. Then admits he's the one with the coke habit. 4. Wife filed for divorce. BC. She didn't want to relocate to a neighboring state for his promotion. 5. Couple with open marriage both end up jealous and call different law firms and file separate complaints for divorce within hours of each other. Number 3 was intranet flex. Number 3 was my favorite. 30 minutes after the wedding, bride found him having sex with one of the bridesmaids. That story shocked me. It was my stepdad's client. Did you chime in with a "haven't you people ever heard of closing a goddamn door?" Because she bought a $3,500 dog as a surprise, and when she sent him the picture he responded with this kind of impulsive bullshit is why your family is poor. Which one filed? She did. She was livid at that comment. He was very harsh, but damn, I have to agree with him. Don't waste your money, ladies and gents. Overheard in court one day a woman wanted to divorce her husband because he likes taking pictures of trains and had been doing so 4 years before. The guy's on track, but the marriage was derailed. Former paralegal here. I worked for a small firm and we had woman come to file a fault divorce and husband was to blame. She filled out the paperwork but didn't put a reason, which we need for fault divorce. Yeah, no. My boss and I sat down with her and ran down the reasons. Abusive to her? No. He never raised his hand to her. Abusive to the kids? No. He was a great father. Cheating? No. He was faithful. Addictions? No. He never drank or did drugs. Actually he was, but we'll get to that in a minute. Having sex with you? Yep. Money trouble? Nope. What was the problem? Dude couldn't quit looking at porn. He was a porn addict, but the wife didn't consider that addiction because it wasn't drugs or alcohol. You're probably thinking, what's weird? That seems like normal reason to file, and people probably do. Dude was addicted to goat porn, like farm animals. She brought in hundreds of pages of his porn searches and saved files. It wasn't even people having sex with goats, it was goats having sex with other goats. He also liked to watch mules be bred. It was strange to say the least. We called him the goat. Grossest of all time. There was some human and animal stuff, but the goats are what stuck with me. I'm betting he isn't allowed near petting zoos. It's Aberforth. As in Dumbledore, or am I too drunk? Yes. Aberforth Dumbledore, who performed inappropriate charms on a goat. She saw him in bike shorts and said she could never be sexually attracted to him again. I practically live on a bike path, and let me tell you that some people shouldn't wear bike shorts or anything with spandex, ever. A man wanted to divorce his wife, fault and no fault type of divorce, because she was diagnosed with cancer. I've heard of couples doing this in the US so that the spouse with cancer is entitled to state medical programs that married people are not eligible for. Hopefully it's something like that, because damn, us healthcare is fucking weird. US healthcare is a misuse of the word "care." I had a woman call and say she needed an annulment, but couldn't find her husband, and hasn't seen him in years. I corrected her that it would be a divorce, not an annulment. She told me they never consummated the marriage, so it couldn't be a divorce. I told her that hasn't been the law in a long time, and she fought me on it. I asked her how exactly she intended to prove to the judge, with evidence, that her marriage wasn't consummated, and that got her upset enough to hang up on me. I'll show him a video of us not having sex. During their honeymoon, the wife asked for a Gucci handbag and the husband told her he couldn't afford it because he just spent $200,000 on the wedding plus honeymoon. She filed for divorce after their return. Semicolon. First of all, let me stop you right there. They're both pretty nuts to spend that on a wedding if Gucci is out of their price range. I did maybe 5 divorces. I had one client who, after I met her soon-to-be ex-husband, stated, "Do you see how retarded he is? That's why I have to divorce him. If I had known how retarded he was, I never would have married him." The guy fired his lawyer once a month and constantly tried to file obviously fabricated or altered documents when he was between counsel. Eventually, very favorably for my client, we settled, since he couldn't find someone to take his case and was looking at felony charges for all the fake documents. I loved that case because it was just such a circus and my client was very reasonable. I only got into second sentence and just combusted. My friend's wife divorced him because he wasn't black enough. He immigrated to the US from Eritrea and I guess somehow that's not black enough. Damn. I'm Eritrean, it feels personal. Hello, I'm your neighboring Ethiopian. This people who think we aren't black make me laugh. What exactly are we then? Celestial beings? As someone that lived in Ethiopia for a few years as a kid, the average Ethiopian is kind enough to qualify as some sort of celestial being in my mind. AWW, thanks, you've made my day. Not qualified, but butting in nevertheless with a story my physician brother told me. His patients tell him everything. One of his patients got divorced because after his girlfriend and he got married, the girlfriend began bugging him about quitting the meds he was taking for depression and anxiety because she should be enough or some such thing. He eventually did. Then later she wanted a divorce because he wasn't the same guy she married. Ugh, this reminds me of my ex. I have had really intense panic attacks since I was in middle school, so I have a prescription for anti-anxiety medication. Really helps me. Keeps the attacks at bay. Enter this guy, and he is super against big pharma, etc and into natural remedies. Keeps pestering me to stop poisoning myself. Also use the I should be enough tactic. I finally agree to try taking a break from my meds just to see if I still need them / can be better without them. I get a huge panic attack one day. Hyperventilation. Can't breathe. Throat feels like it's closing. Crying erratically. Instead of comforting me and trying to help, he screams at me for being crazy and that I just need to think myself out of it and tells me I'm irrational. Literally, no empathy, no understanding of the state I'm in. Long story short, we are not together anymore. Thankfully. What a fucking psycho. Friend and her husband got bored in the bedroom, so the husband convinced his female coworker, who was a lesbian, to join in. Friend decided she liked her better and divorced him to be with the coworker. They got married, and she eventually left her too for her new male coworker. So yeah, coworkers, man. The 16-year-old stepson looked at her repeatedly with disrespectful eyes. It was a while ago, but I seem to recall being 16 and looking at quite a lot of people with disrespectful eyes. I think it's a thing. She couldn't stand the sight of him anymore. I was in the military at a recovery unit, just reporting in. I heard her saying this to a chaplain while he sat there, in a wheelchair. Majority of his skin was covered in burns. 1,000-yard stare, no emotion. I remember seeing an episode of Divorce Court where the lady was upset because her husband cooked too much and he was too nice. Dude seemed genuinely sweet. Poor guy. Video for reference. Link in description. A guy who cooks too much and is too nice? I volunteer as tribute. I'm a straight man, but if I could get a nice person that also cooks for me, I also volunteer. Not a divorce, but an interracial couple from my high school had been engaged for almost a year and the man broke it off because races aren't supposed to mix. I would lay small amounts of money down that his family got to him. After 7 years of marriage, a husband, unbeknownst to the wife, started trying to convince their nanny to have a threesome. telling her his wife would be really into it. He was a Wall Street guy, and she was a physician. And the nanny had been with them since their first kid was born 4 years earlier. The nanny finally made a move on the wife, who told her it was inappropriate. But a few months later, they got drunk, and they had that threesome. It turned into a regular thing. The husband was totally happy until the wife said she and the nanny were in love with each other, and she was leaving him for the nanny. During the custody proceedings, the husband tried to argue the nanny was an illegal immigrant, which was ridiculous. In the end, the wife got primary custody. 3 years later, the wife and nanny are still together, though they hired a new nanny. Have they not learned that hiring nannies is a bad idea for marriage? Well, it only ended up being bad for the husband. Turned out quite well for them. My friend's parents, because she was tired of the husband being too short, the same height as when they started dating. She had dum-dum. He didn't file, but he said he videoed his stepdaughter in the shower for the sole purpose of forcing his wife to leave him. Sounds like he got caught, and that's how he attempted to exonerate himself to authorities, family, friends, and his boss. I'm not saying the story is impossible. Sure, someone could be that dumb. It's just, in general, you don't want provable or witnessed misdemeanor or felony actions you committed, regardless of if you were charged, be the preface for any legal proceeding. Not a lawyer, but this was big gossip at the church I went to. One of the more prominent members of the church filed for divorce because his wife was battling stage 4 ovarian cancer. His claim was that she was unable to perform marital duties. She died shortly after the divorce. People were pissed when they found out, and he became a social pariah and left the church. Anyone who divorces their spouse during cancer, unless there is extreme abuse, financial malfeasance, or some other horrible truth or secret is revealed, we are talking like pedophilia, being a violent racist, infidelity, etc. is nothing short of scum. Doubly so if it is over something like the inability to have sex. Because cancer fucking sucks. I'm glad the church pariahed that guy. No excuse. Fart issues are a real thing. So, I'm not a divorce lawyer, but this happened to a good friend of mine. Her brother, Kevin, married a woman that started using Snuggle fabric softener. Kevin ended up having a crazy allergic reaction to the Snuggle, but his wife refused to stop using it because she liked it so much. Even when he washed his own clothes without it being used on her clothes still caused a reaction so badly he had to be hospitalized. Still yet, she refused to stop using Snuggle. So, they got a divorce over Snuggle. What an awful person. A fabric softener over your partner's life. Like, what kind of logic deficiency are you working with there? He was snoring too loud. That's it. That's the main reason. Sleep deprivation is a form of torture. I remember seeing a thing where a man won the lottery, and his wife filed divorce so she could get the proceedings of the lottery as part of the divorce. The judge confirmed the divorce and either he kept all the money or she had to pay him. There is a similar one in CA, where the wife won the lottery, an annuity payout, and didn't tell the husband, but filed for divorce, so she could keep the money. They were divorced, and 2 years later the husband got a letter as his address from one of those companies that offer to pay you a lump sum in exchange for you turning over the annuity payments. He thought it was odd, and looked into it. They went back to court, and the judge was so pissed at what the wife did she awarded the entire amount of the lottery winnings to the husband. California law. If you hide an asset during divorce, and it is later proven that you have, you lose the asset 100%. Women wants divorce because husband is not at home by 5 p.m. She didn't understand that he had a job to do. I dated a girl a couple years back, and if I wasn't home within 5 minutes of the time she expected me to be home, she thought I was cheating on her. My commute from work to home was about 50 minutes to an hour. If I was late she would call me and ask me who I was with. Nobody, I'm by myself in my car. My roommate's ex was like this. She went so far as to look on Google Maps how long it would take home to get home, and would call if he was even a minute late. She always assumed he was at the bar. Fair. Also potentially true. Or with some other girl. Nope. Or with a gay bartender from the bar that she was convinced he was sleeping with. She always assumed he was at the bar. My coworker's GF was like this. She even made him share his live location on WhatsApp, and would call him all angry if he was at the bar. The worst part, we work at the bar. Are you at the bar? Yeah, we are cleaning up. How dare you? He squeezed the toothpaste directly into his mouth instead of on the toothbrush. This is why it doesn't hurt to live with someone before you marry them.